Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to our modern operating system and computer networks. Myself, Dr. Madhivanandurai, currently working as an assistant professor to the Department of School of Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence at SR University Warangal. So, in the today discussion, we will discuss about this from the unit of networking protocols addressing and transport protocols, security, and application layer services. From this network layer protocol addressing, we will discuss about this protocols like DHCP and ARP and RARP and Boot. So from this lecture, the course outcome should be we will learn about analysis, transport and application layer protocols along with basics network security mechanism. So as we know, so network protocols addressing is the process of using unique identifier such as IP addresses to enable the devices to communicate with each other over the networks. So, for example, someone using a IP address with the devices based on their devices somewhere away from the cities. So he need to send the file to someone, a respective person to reach the document reach the file to the another person which based on this IP addresses of the devices. So it should be identified through identification of one to another. The data should be more reliably can transfer from sender to receiver. So that's why here we are saying like unique identifies and such as like IP addresses to enabling or enable the devices to communicate with each other over the network. So, a network protocol is an established set of rules that order how data is transmitted between the one devices to the another devices. There is a set of protocols should be used. Like coming to the what are the network protocols? In the last lecture, we have discussed some like ICMP protocols and some other protocols as well. And today we will discuss some more protocols. So the majorly like there are hundreds of network protocols available in the networks layer. So and all of them broadly classified into three categories. So there are three main category of protocols. So in that three main category, the remain all the category of protocol should be belongs to these three. So first one is like network communication protocols and network management protocols and network security protocol. What is meant by uh, a common network communication protocol? So networks communication protocols over sorry like so network communication protocols covers various aspects of communications such as like syntax and semantics and synchronizations. So it should be covers syntax what kind of syntax should be transferred under semantic and synchronizations should be communications between the one to another. So here, like from that common network communication protocols, it should be included like DHCP and these are remaining protocols. So these all the protocols are network communication protocols. So the role of these all the networks protocols used for the assigning and resolving IP addresses. So the it should be identify which IP addresses and where we need to send the file. So it should be so this major role should be identify the and resolve the IP address addressing any issues as well. So ARP and RARP handles the mapping between IP and physical MAC addresses. So these two protocols should be support to the mapping between the IP and physical MAC addresses. So each devices have unique IP addresses. So the based on the unique IP addresses should be mapped with together to transferring the uh, frames, data frames. So while the Bootp and DHCP. So this is two protocols will used for the automated and assignment of IP addresses and other configurations details to device on networks. So the role wise can be the protocol should be performed. So we will discuss one by one. So what is the role of each protocols and how should be used in the network layer. So coming to the DHCP, so like called as a dynamic host configuration protocols. So so it means like the role of dynamic host configuration protocols network manager protocols that automatically assign IP addresses and essential network configurations like a switch, a router, host, a software, and firewall configurations. So these are the major role of this dynamic host configuration protocol. Should be identify or assigning the automatically assigning the IP addresses and essential network configurations which includes switch, routers, host, and software and firewall configurations. So it permanently to device. So like uh, its parameters to devices connected to the networks. So these eliminations like this eliminates dull process of manual IP configurations, because while manual IP configuration should be taking a time delay process, and also it's kind of not easy to identify the process. So we will use this dynamic host configuration process for the automatic IP addresses assigning IP address process. Then it reducing the human error. While automatic assigning the IP addresses, we can reducing the human errors and administrative overhead and allows devices to connect seamless communications. So the major roles for while using a dynamic host configuration, like it should be automatically assign the IP addresses, and by using automatic IP addresses we can reduce the human error and administrative overhead and allows the device to connect a seamless communications without any breaking between the two networks, two devices by IP addresses. The data should be smoothly transferred from sender to receiver side. So how it should be working? Like instead of a manual configuration each devices, DHE dynamic host configuration should be protocols enables the device to join a network and automatically receives like IP addresses, subnet mask, and default gateway, then DNS servers, addresses, mappings, and other transmission control protocols with Internet Protocol configuration operations. Like here, I told you like automatic IP address pool and DHCP client and other configuration of a transmission control and IP addresses. So it should be automatically functioned by using of a dynamic host configuration protocols. So here, like dynamic host configuration protocols, like store initially should be store the IP addresses and configuration details, which allows or which allocate the addresses dynamically to the client. Then uh, in the DHCP relay, in the server case, should be automatically allocate the dynamic address dynamically to the client. In the relay service, relay process act as a bridge between the client and the server when they are not on the same subnet. And DHCP client like a device PC, what other devices can be automatically making IP address baby PC and the phone, printer, etc. like that. So that records and receives the network configuration from DHCP servers. Then IP address pool. So coming to the IP address pool, a predefined range of IP addresses that the DHCP servers can lease to device. And coming to the subnet, local parentage of an IP network to organize and manage the IP allocations. So this is the role of subnet. The role of subnet like a local parentage of an IP networks to organize and manage IP allocations. And least the time period for the next is the time period for the which an IP address is assigned to a client. After expire, the client must renew or request a new list. So once the um, within the period, in case of the IP address should be expired, then it should be revise the link, or else it should be renew the new IP address based on the request. So coming to the DNS servers, so the role of DNS servers uh, dynamic host configuration protocols can provide DNS servers information to client for resolving domain names. Then default gateway. Coming to the default gateway, the gateway router's information is provided to the client so that they can communicate outside their subnet. And options like additional parameters like subnet mask, domain names, and time servers. So these are the component of DHCP, dynamic host configuration protocols. And role of this, all the components should be returned here. Well, we can refer it from here. So as we discussed in this previous same DHCP discuss device broadcast discussion messages, searching for the available DHCP, then server on the networks, and DHCP offers like a server response with available IP addresses and a network configuration parameters. Then request devices formally request the offered IP addresses from servers, and acknowledgement like a server configuration, server confirm the list the IP addresses for specified duration as well. So how should be performed? Initially, the uh, dynamic host configuration protocol discover the messages. So this is the initial message dynamic host configuration protocol. So from client to server. So this is the first message generated in the communication process between the server and client. So this message, this message is generated by a client host in order to discover if there is any DHCP servers or servers present into the network. So here, in case of any servers appear, it should be discovered if there is any server DHCP server or servers are present into the network or not. Then DHCP offers a messages if it is available. For example, the service will be respond to the host host in that messages like specifying the uh, unlisted IP addresses and other transmission control protocol configuration information as well. So the host should be respond to this kind of message with availability. This message is broadcasted by server. So from that server, it should be broadcasted. The size of the message is 342 bytes. So from client send to the request, and as per the availability, the server should be respond to the client. So coming to the bootstrap protocols, is simply called a boot. So bootstrap protocols like functions assigned an IP addresses and other network configuration information like server's IP addresses to uh, diskless workstation during the startup. So how it should be performed or how it should be working like the clients initially the clients send a broadcast request information to the server or boot servers, and the boot server should be respond with the configuration details. So like the status like predis to DHCP, which means dynamic host protocols, dynamic host configuration protocols. It is still in use, but is less flexible and less commonly used than the DHCP. So, like here, this like a client send it to the request to the routers, and the router should be give the notification to the return back to the client. Then next protocol is ARP, which means addresses resolution protocols. So addresses resolution protocols like it is an network protocol used to determine the MAC addresses like hardware addresses and correspond to the an IP addresses. So each devices have an MAC addresses and correspond to the IP addresses. So it maps an IP address to physical mechanics MAC addresses with a local network to enable the devices to communicate effectively. So from here you can see host and send the request to the routers and getting the information from that router as well. So it's like it map an IP address to type physical mechanics MAC addresses with local network or to enable the devices to communicate effectively. So like initially as a sender, so for example, our sender should be check address resolution protocol catches first. So if MAC addresses for the destination IP address internet protocol is already catched, our communications start immediately. So once API request broadcast, if not catched, the senders broadcast an API request on the LAN. Then all devices receives a request. So which means each devices checks whether the request IP match it wants. So like at the destination replace like the devices which match with IP internet protocol sends and address resolution protocols reply with unicast. Okay, so which containing its MAC addresses. Once getting the MAC addresses, the catch updates, the senders updates its uh, addresses resolution protocol catch with the new MAC addresses for further uses. So coming to this, advantages, uh, advantages of address resolution protocols like it automatic mapping. So which means no need for the manual configuration of resolving the MAC addresses. Then efficiency, coming to the efficiency in the ARP, ensure the smooth communication with the LAN. Because of it, by using automatic of IP addressing match with the devices, so the manual error should be reduced. As per that, the smooth communication can be enhanced. So with the LAN. So transparency like a work in the background without user intervention. Then flexibility like it supports a different type of proxy and gadgets, reserve and inverse for varied network needs. Then reserved addresses resolution protocols. The next one is the reserved addresses resolution protocols. Like the major function of this reserve addresses resolution protocols like perform the opposite of ARP. So in the ARP like this one. So send the request and map it to the IP addresses. Here what will happen? So like allowing a devices to discover its own IP addresses using its own MAC addresses. So so how it should be working like a device send the broadcast with its MAC addresses and ARP serves replies with the corresponding IP addresses. So which means senders device sends a broadcast with MAC addresses, then ARP sorry RARP serves replies with the IP address of the devices. So the status like a large obsolete and replaced by boot and dynamic host configuration protocols. So these protocols should be much better than the boot and dynamic host protocols. So like here send the request is broadcast, then from RARP like reserve addresses protocols, resolution protocols is unicast reply from that replies with the corresponding IP addresses. So coming to the um, coming to the outcomes sorry. So here we can see simple working methods of address resolution protocols and reserve address resolution protocols. So like RFC 903 allows the diskless host to discover its own IP addresses using its MAC address. So for in the case of address resolution protocols, the input should be like a known IP addresses. It should be get from the output of a find like a MAC addresses. Whereas in reserve addresses resolution protocols, the input should be known like a MAC address, but we will get the output like we will find a for the IP address. So these are the major differences. So how it should be working like a reserve addresses reserve addresser resolution protocols like a diskless client boot only knows one MAC addresses, then broadcast resolution address, reserve address resolution protocols request one who knows my IP and like my MAC is like a xxx dot xx dot like that. So the next RAR RP serves looks of a MAC in static configuration table, then the server should be server's unicast RP or ARP should be replied with a client assigned IP address. Then the client configuration or client configures IP and continuous boot process as well. So like initial in the workstation, diskless workstation, send the request from address resolution protocols. Then its server should be respond to the from RARP to the workstations. So this is a server table like was returned MAC IP address. So coming to the limitation of RP like no subnet mask or gateway inform provided. So the major comparisons of these three protocols, sorry, the four protocols, like here we can define that table wise. So coming to the features like a purpose we will use for the auto configuration of dynamic host protocols, then uh, address resolution protocols like a IP knows but finding a MAC mappings, then based on the MAC address to a mapping IP address IP mappings, then boot like a static IP configuration it's possible. So RFC you can return RFC 2131 and 2 sorry 826 and return like that remaining two protocols. The layers like in that layers the application it should be performed to the applications layers and networking layer it should be worked in the two-third of and it's also worked as a two-third and it should be suitable it should be support to the application layers and coming to the transport like UDP the ratio of 60 over the 68 and direct like that. So it is possible to assign a dynamic assigns IP addresses and not possible and here is also not possible and here also not possible and a subnet mask like it is possible in the dynamic host configuration whereas ERP and RARP and Bootp it's not possible only possible in the Bootp and DHCP dynamic host in the subnet mask and default grow yes and status like a current standard like a current standard and obsolete and super seeded. Coming to the outcomes we from that lecture we was understand or we understood about the protocols what is the role of DHCP and address resolution protocol and reserve address resolution protocols and boot of networks. So what is the major role and how should be performed. So and we also explained how DCP dynamically assign the IP addresses or IP address to network devices and it describes the process of address resolution protocols IPv addresses to MAC addresses. Then we understood about how RARP should be working or used to obtain the IP addresses from known MAC addresses. Then explain the role of Bootp. It provides IP configuration to discuss the workstations. Then we compare the difference between all the four kind of protocols in the previous slides. Thank you. Thank you very much.